Hey guys, it's Alyssa here, and today I shall be talking about all the books that I read in May. May wasn't the best reading month for me. I could have done better, but May was a really rough month for me mentally. How funny was it that I struggled so much with my mental health during Mental Health Awareness Month? Just saying, that's just the life of living with mental health. It just do be like that sometimes. I didn't read as much as I'd wanted to, obviously, but I think I did a good job with what I was dealing with. I read a total of 7 books, and I didn't really love anything that much that I read in May. It just overall was just a lackluster month. So for the month of May, I ended up participating in the Medievalathon. I ended up completing a decent amount of the prompts. Honestly, I didn't do too bad. I could have done a lot worse. So I'll tell you which books that I've read and then which prompts that I finished. I ended up reading 7 books, which means that I completed the 1 book tracker, which would give you like a title, and I am an Empress, so shout out to me. I did that. So we're just gonna go in the order that I read them. I read 3 3-star books, 2 4-star books, and 2 5-star books. So I read a lot of so books this month. I read a total of 1,601 pages. First book that I read was Break Your Glass Slippers by Amanda Lovelace. This is the newest poetry collection in her newest poetry series. She tends to do like 2 or 3 books that are all kind of themed. This one is like a new fairy tale one. I ended up giving this 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was okay. I feel like I either love Amanda Lovelace and like trash for the book, or I feel like it's subpar, and this is what that felt like for me. I felt like it didn't feel new and original from her. If you're looking for Amanda Lovelace's best work, I would recommend, To Make Monsters Out of Girls, and what's the second one? I don't know. I'll put the covers here. You need to read that. Those 2 poetry books I think are Amanda's best work, and I was hoping that this one would follow suit, but I just think with poets, it just kind of varies. Like, you could feel like head over heels in love with one, but then not be head over heels in love with another. That's just what I found for me anyway. I vary a lot. Don't take my word for it, because again, I feel like poetry for me is like, it can vary a lot. So if you like Amanda Lovelace, you might love this. And the prompt that I finished for this one was a book under 300 pages. The next book that I read was by far one of my favorite books that I read this month, and definitely one of the best graphic novels I read this year. And that is The Nameless City by Faith Erin Hicks. And yes, this is the same Faith Erin Hicks that recently illustrated a graphic novel by Rainbow Rowell. And this was phenomenal. 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely love this book. I thought the plot was original. I connected a lot to the story. I thought the artwork was really cool. It definitely gave me like Avatar: The Last Airbender vibes. I'm very into it. I don't know why I haven't heard anybody talk about this series. I'm offended. I know it's a trilogy. I'm excited to read the rest of them, and I'm very excited to see how this series wraps up, because it had such a good start. And I feel like a lot of times with graphic novel series or comic series that are in volume format, the first volume is never the strongest, but this one was so good, and it better have a good payoff because it was so good to start off with. And the prompt that I finished for that was another wardrobe prompt, which was a book with green on the dust jacket. The next book that I read was, if you couldn't tell, I read a lot of graphic things this month, and that was Indoor Recess, which is volume 13 in the Lumberjanes series. And I sadly only gave this 3 stars. I thought it was okay. I thought it felt like filler. For a whole graphic novel to feel like filler, kind of sad. I feel like the plot in this was just boring. I just didn't care about what they were doing, and a lot of times with Lumberjanes, I'm just like, I'm here to just be along for the adventure, and I feel like there was so little of that, so little adventure. I couldn't get into it. The prompt that I finished was the only animals prompt that I finished, because obviously my reading took a big dump, and that was A Book High on Your Bookshelf. I don't own really any physical books, so I took this to mean high priority on your bookshelf, and I read these basically as they come out. So definitely high priority. The next book that I read was another disappointing read, and that was Black Badge Volume 3. I've been reading this series for a little bit now, and I finally finished it, and it was the most disappointing ending to a lackluster series. This was a cool series because it had like young kids being like black ops, like spies or something. I don't really know how to describe them, but they were like kind of like black ops, I guess. I don't know. They were like cool things, agents of some sort that took down people or bad guys, and I feel like there was so much buildup to figure out what was behind this whole Black Badge organization, and then it wrapped it up in 120 pages, but not, I felt like we didn't get a lot of explanation, and I feel like it was very boring, and I felt like I had 8 issues of buildup to have like 2 issues of an explanation. Felt like it just ended, but like not even in a good way. And I didn't want, like, the series is so gritty. Like, it's so gritty throughout the whole thing. Like, it feels like it's technically like a teen graphic novel series. So it's gritty. And it just like was like, oh, we're just gonna wrap everything up in a nice little bow and happily ever after. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I get that they're teens, but like, why would you give me this whole gritty series and then like me sitting there being like, this is so gritty, like, ooh, I like it because it's different. And then like, I didn't want it to wrap up with a pretty little bow. I wanted it to be messy. Don't recommend this series whatsoever. The payoff is not worth it. The prompt that I finished for that one was with something pointy on the cover. He has like some type of weapon across his chest you could have seen earlier. Whatever. Next book was definitely one of my favorite books that I read this month. We ended the month on a high, so that was at least good. That was His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik, and I freaking love this book. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Now you're wondering, if you freaking loved it, why'd you give it 4 out of 5 stars? I loved it, but I felt like some parts of me were like just zoned out. I feel like I would better enjoy this series reading it physically, but that's not an option right now because I don't have a library to go to. So I had to listen to it on audio, and I felt like there were definitely some parts where I just wandered a little bit, but like that's also could have just been me this month because I was just like wandering mentally a lot. But this was so good. It was so cool. Like, war dragons, basically. Like, what? I have never loved a character as much as I love Temeraire, who is a dragon. Temeraire, bae, absolute bae. I would die for him. No exaggeration. I feel like this is a really easy fantasy book that isn't like high fantasy and isn't confusing and isn't convoluted and is really just cool. So if you're like me and you like fantasy but you're scared and you're a baby and you don't know anything about any type of fantasy, I do recommend this book. The prompt that I completed with that one was for a dragon on the cover, and I just had to read this book during this month because it's like Medievalathon, dragon on the cover. Hello, I have to read this book. The next book that I finished was Erased Volume 3, and I am trash for the series. I'm trash for the series. This is so good. I cannot recommend this manga series enough. If you want manga, but you're not into the shoujo manga, I think it's called, which is a lot of like the contemporary, like light, like ha 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 ha, it's light, and it's like made specifically for a younger audience, I think. If you're not into that, this is a mystery thriller, mostly thriller series, and it is immaculate. The storytelling, the character development, the relationships, the whole thing. So excited to like watch a adaptation of this because I know I think there's one on Netflix of this, and I'm so excited. It is so good, and it's good. But trigger warning for the 3rd volume if you for some reason read this series. The 3rd volume does definitely have a trigger warning for sexual assault on minors, so just so you know. I can't wait till I can get to a library so I can get to the next volume, because I've had this volume checked out since like the end of February, beginning of March. The last book that I read in May was my classic of the month. I did it, and that was Anne's House of Dreams by L.M. Montgomery. I only ended up giving this one 4 out of 5 stars. I still really enjoyed it, but I thought it wasn't as good as every other Anne book. Kind of seen reviews of this that a lot of people don't really care for the final 2 books. Feel like a lot of Anne's fieriness was gone out of this one, which made me a little bit sad. I still enjoyed a lot of the other characters that Montgomery brings into the Anne of Green Gables series. That's a big part of these books, is all of the other supporting characters and stories going on. Always enjoy that element. So I think I'll never not enjoy an Anne book because of that element, but I feel like a lot of Anne's character got lost in this book. And that could just have been that she went through a lot. Trigger warnings for infant death. That's a big thing that happens, and it's really sad. I'm still excited to finish the series. If I have the motivation to, maybe I'll finish it this month, I don't know. Still enjoyed it, and it still made me emotional, and I still connect a lot to the world of Anne of Green Gables, but Anne's character herself wasn't as up to par. For Erased, I finished the weapons prompt of a book you have high expectations for, and for Anne's House of Dreams, the weapons prompt for a romance, because she's married in this one. Those are all the books that I read in May. I read a couple of really good ones, but a few not so great ones. Let me know down below what you read in May. I didn't do my TBR jar in this video because I did it in my other video for the Feel Good-a-thon, so if you want to see my TBR jar pick, go watch that video. Hoping that June is better. Let me know how your May went, and if it was like my May, I hope your June is better too. I hope so. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope I shall see you in the next one. Bye.